happy to say this is a subcommittee meeting, the general government to discuss residency issues. The idea came from Councilor Delgado, so I'll turn the meeting over to him and looking forward to, but first new city council policy. We like everybody who's here to introduce themselves. So Jose, can you handle that from your end?
Sure. So good afternoon, everybody. Councilor Jose Delgado. I'll let folks inside the room introduce themselves. Go ahead.
Caitlin Julius, Assistant HR Director. Chloe Munier, Senior HR Generalist.
Bill Mahoney, HR Director.
Steve Bonacani, Law Department.
And then online, looks like we have a number of officials. See Commissioner BJ Calvi. I see Commissioner Helen Carlton Harris, DPW Director Chris Noli, from our, I wanted to say ANF, Kathy Bono. Sorry, my state hat sometimes throws me off. We also have Lindsay Hackett. Councilor Tracy Whitfield is on. Councilor Tim Allen. Deputy Chief Kane. A few names on here that I don't know.
It's Deputy Chief David Martin, Springfield Police Department.
Thank you. Thank you for announcing yourself, sir.
You're welcome.
And I see Steve.
Steve Lonergan, Acting Controller.
All right. Thank you, sir. Anybody I missed?
Good job, Jose. Good job.
All right.
Heather Figure, Property Manager.
All right. Well, since this is my ordinance, I guess I'll kick it off. So what I have to you today is an ordinance that I was looking into doing. It's called skills-based hiring, and it's modeling something that has already been done on the state level. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Governor Maura Healey already implemented an executive order doing this in the Commonwealth for the jobs at the state level, and highly suggesting that folks within other areas, including the private sector, follow along. And the whole deal with the skills-based hiring is essentially what they're trying to do is focus on the whole applicant. So when somebody applies for a job, many times we've seen in the past, a job will have kind of the minimum barrier be a bachelor's degree. And what that does a lot of times is it automatically weeds out individuals regardless of their previous work life experience. And so what I'm looking to do with this, again, modeling it after the states, is requiring that the city look at the whole applicant and give a comprehensive review of the applicant's resume, their background experience, any relevant skills, knowledge that they may have when considering folks or opportunities. That's kind of it in a high level, in a nutshell. But I think what that will do is that, especially in these tough economic times that we have right now in terms of trying to find people, I think this will allow us to expand the access to opportunity, specifically for folks who are looking to work for the city of Springfield. I think it promotes equity and inclusion. A lot of times, historically marginalized or underrepresented groups sometimes don't have degrees. And so it helps folks who might not be able to afford a degree today to be able to show what they can do through their already previous work experience. I also think it'll help increase efficiencies in hiring in terms of the Springfield School Department, as well as align workforce development and retention goals, particularly when it comes to hiring city residents. Yeah, and I think if we model this specifically after what the state has already done, it'll also encourage other folks within the private sector in the greater Springfield area. And this is something that's already being done in the private sector. So it's not anything brand new. I think it'd be catching up with the times that we are in today. So With that, I'll be quiet for a little bit, and folks have any questions, I'm happy to answer what I can answer. Anybody inside?
So the people involved in the HR process, Caitlin or Bill, et cetera, you guys any response to this?
Sure. So just by way of background, my team has been doing some research on the proposed ordinance and want to give the council an update of where we actually stand. So we have about 1,548 employees that work for the city on the city side of government. That is not the school side, and none of the statistics I'm going to reference are school department statistics. For those 1,548 employees, we have about 573 different classifications. That means 573 different types of jobs that we use in order to keep the city functioning and running well. Of the 573 classifications, 41% of them require a degree. So 237 of those job classes require a degree. The rest do not. So about 59% plus of our jobs don't have a degree requirement. Of the jobs that we do have a degree requirement, we've added on or experience so that you can substitute experience for the degree in about 24% of those jobs. So 1 out of every 4. If you look at just raw data on the number of employees that work for the city where we don't have any requirement at all for an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, or higher. Without getting into the exact number, because I don't have that as of today, but just in public safety alone, we have about 751 of those jobs don't require anything beyond a high school diploma or a GED. So that's 48% of our jobs don't have a requirement, just in public safety. And if you add to that the employees in the UFCW, in the Foreman's Union, in Seoul, that's about another 11.5%. So about 60% of our employees right out of the gate don't have a degree requirement. We can drill further into the details with some of the smaller groups, and that number is just going to go up. An example of this is, if, for instance, in the UPSI group, we have a lot of city hall workers, our dispatchers, our clerical employees. Of the 92 classifications that we have for that 163 employees, 29 have a degree requirement. The other 60 plus don't have any degree requirement beyond the high school diploma. So we've kind of, I think, achieved what the thrust of the ordinance is. And then, you get into a lot of other positions that we have where we really do want to retain a degree requirement where it's necessary. And, some of that is, for instance, in HR or in the law department, our nurses, our veterinarian, if we can fill that position, our dentist. We have a lot of positions that have a licensure requirement. And we do want to make sure that, we maintain those degree requirements for those positions. So that's pretty much where we are with current statistics. I will say that I certainly had a concern about, on the second page of this, there was a reference to changes being subject to, in job descriptions, being subject to the approval of the Human Resources Department and the City Council. I don't think that's a function of the City Council. I think that's an executive decision. I don't think that's a legislative decision. And quite frankly, I don't think the City Council is going to want, me or Katie or Chloe to be coming in and being on your agenda anytime that we got to change a job description. So those are just some thoughts on that as that we were looking at with this ordinance draft.
Bill, which part did you say on the? Want to make sure I.
Sure. On page 2, there's the paragraph after in section 1 starts with job classifications.
Yep.
And then the last sentence of that has approval subject to City Council. I don't think that's appropriate or necessary. In section 4 of the proposal, there's a reference to, guidance by the state HRD and Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development. I think that should be stricken as well, that we really have little to do with HRD other than civil service matters. And then, us sharing resources with other Springfield employers, we're never opposed to it, but it's just something that doesn't really, happen unless we are taking the initiative. When for instance, we were doing a job recruitment up at the mall before it closed, and we were up there to recruit their employees, so we have a job.
So Bill, compared to, just if you could summarize, there's a lot of good data there, but I got a little lost on the overall objective of Jose's proposal. Are you saying that we're already doing it kind of thing?
Yeah, we have most, again, I think it's 60% of our jobs. I get the number here correctly. About 60% of our jobs, the classifications mean that the name of the job, dispatcher, police officer, firefighter, not the people, but the positions. 60% of them don't have a degree requirement other than, a high school diploma or GED. So
Gotcha.
we've already done that. And the ones that do, 24% of those positions, we have the either or. So you could say a bachelor's degree or 4 years of experience, of relevant experience. We already have that in a lot of our job descriptions, as I said, where we are requiring a degree, we've got the 24% there for that. And we do, Katie does a lot of our job classification work. She'll look at it when we are going through the position to decide what we need, and what the value of the position is. How much we're going to pay it. The other piece of this to keep in mind is that, we're highly unionized work environment, and job descriptions are going to have to be negotiated with our bargaining units if we're going to make any changes.
Okay. Jose, does that seem like it achieves part of what you were trying to achieve? That our current data is.
I mean, without going through every job line by line, I think, what the city's doing is an attempt in that direction. However, what I would say is I still think there are opportunities, because what you're doing with a degree, some of these jobs don't require a degree, right? Like I'm looking right now online, 311 call center service rep. And I'm not saying, anything in terms of degrees or not. I think eliminating the barrier so folks can have the opportunity to apply, and if their relevant experience comes into play, and if you have two people that are equal and one has a degree, then by all means, you grab the person with the best experience in that you're looking at. But in terms of, for some of these positions having bachelor's degree, like this one right here doesn't say bachelor's degree or relevant experience, it just says bachelor's degree in related field. That's all it says. So without going through every job line by line, I still think it behooves us to really look into this, especially in the hard economic times we have. And if we're saying that this, the state of Massachusetts has already done this, but we're saying we don't have to do it, then I still like to see more examples of stuff that we have done to go move that forward. You said 41 required a degree, but I don't know what those 41 other positions are. And so, Mr. Chair, you got hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
Yeah.
You done? Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Councilor Delgado. My apologies for running a little behind. Thank you, Catherine Walsh, Councilor Walsh, for getting the meeting started. I trust that you've done the appropriate pleasantries and recognize everybody. It sounds like we already had some spirited discussion. I believe you presented your proposal. And just for the
I
record,
haven't read the whole.
you haven't read it? Okay. So today we're talking about skill-based hiring. I see that I have some councilors with your hands up. I'm going to call you as I see you on the screen. It's going to be Councilor Walsh, followed by Councilor Whitfield. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think all of us on the call can agree, we all want to work together to make working for the city of Springfield more attractive. But I was curious, Bill, about, you have the different positions. I was curious about veterans. How do they fit into all this? Do they, when they apply for jobs, is it all jobs? Is it certain jobs? How much of a veteran's preference is given?
There is a veteran's preference in the civil service, official service positions. So police and fire, there's a veteran's preference in there, as there's also a residency preference. So we have those in there already. And of course, at the very top of the list, Counselor, is a disabled veteran.
There's also a preference for the labor list.
Yeah, for the labor list as well. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think that's important. Do you feel a need to open that veteran's preference to other jobs? Or do they only seem to apply for certain categories?
Certainly, we see an awful lot in the police and fire ranks.
I would think.
But, we're a very veteran-friendly organization, and we would encourage any veteran to apply for any position, and we'd want to give them a hard look anytime we value that experience quite a bit.
Yes, I can imagine that a lot of them, their experience would qualify them for a lot of different positions. But I think it's a good idea to look into this.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm online looking at the, I guess it's the skills-based hiring policy for the Commonwealth. And I agree with what Councilor Delgado is saying, because there are some positions on there that probably will not require a degree. I've seen people come in with a degree that have no experience, and then you have people with experience that you're limiting from applying that may have experience, but they're not going to apply because they don't have the degree, because it says degree required. And for me, degree required just means you finish something, but that doesn't mean people who haven't went to school haven't finished something also. There have been people with degrees and on paper they look great, but don't have the background experience or knowledge in some of these positions, and then you're limiting yourself with people that do. So I definitely would like to look into this a bit more. And then online in the hiring practice, it says hiring team should, well, it says it could be a manager, supervisor, or supporting team, like diversity director, diversity officer. So I just wanted to ask if diversity officers are included in the hiring process when looking at candidates.
Yes. Yes, they are.
So the diversity, I guess it's Judy Kroll.
Yes, Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. Ms. Kroll is involved in the process.
Okay, and is she involved in the process from the beginning, like looking at the applications and determining who is going to move forward to interview process?
She can add anyone that she wants in. As the list is being developed, she can add anyone she wants in, and she can sit in on the interviews as well.
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, this is a great discussion, but I do have a 2 o'clock, so I will listen until 2. But I do also think that this is a great initiative to get people who have the skill sets, but not necessarily have the degrees into positions within the city, because experience sometimes is better than the degree if you know what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Anybody else virtually? Any other question? No. Councilor Delgado.
Yeah, and I appreciate everybody's just kind of involvement. And what I'm not trying to do here is I'm not saying that the degree doesn't matter. What I'm saying is we should be mindful of making sure that we're not setting barriers or artificial barriers for folks who might have the experience to be able to do the work. That's what I'm saying. And in terms of Councilor Walsh's earlier question, in terms of veterans, veterans do get preference in a lot of the things that Bill Mahoney said. But if they don't have a degree and they have relevant experience and they've served X amount of years in the military and things that they've done, whether it be overseas, in barracks, but they don't have the degree and they're applying for a job, they're not even gonna be let in the front door. You're not even gonna be able to have that initial conversation, right? And so what I'm saying is, let's not place a barrier and let folks with relevant experience be able to come to the table and show what they can do. And if somebody who has the experience, has a degree, is there, then, and that's the best match for the job, and so be it. What I'm trying to do is make it more flexible for folks. The other piece I wanted to chime in is, since COVID, there's been a spike in the amount of people that are going into the trades, getting certificates, getting experience through those avenues that are not the traditional route. And so we've got to be mindful that has continued ever since COVID. We've got more and more folks going into certificate programs, not necessarily bachelor's or associates. And we've seen it even here at Putnam. Putnam has a waiting list. There are so many kids that want to get into Putnam, and those are potential, future employees for the city of Springfield, future leaders for the city of Springfield. And some of these folks, who are getting relevant skills right here in Springfield, if you don't have a degree, you're not even going to get into the, kind of line level opportunities if it requires that. And so that's what I would say. And I think folks, can learn on the job and get a lot of relevant experience as well so that they can become management at some point. But I just don't want to create a artificial barrier for folks who do have the experience, but may not have the money or have had the time because of whatever life circumstances had to actually get the degree.
Counselor, if I can just add into that.
Go ahead, Tom.
So I appreciate you bringing that up. We have a partnership with Putnam. As you probably are aware, we have interns both at DPW and at the fire department that are from Putnam that actually work on our equipment, get training, and actually comes into full-time jobs for some of them after graduation. So it's been a great program for us. We have them going up to IT as well. From, I think, both our high schools, and we've also had some college interns as well. So we've got a pretty good program right now with interns across the city. And where we can do more, we'll do more.
I love that.
Yeah.
More of that.
Yeah. Thank you, Director Mahoney. I do have several questions, and let me just change gears for a little bit and kind of like take an eye's view of this issue. Director Mahoney, if you're able to tell me these numbers, I'm really going to be impressed with you. But or any of the ladies here with the numbers of posting, jobs in the city. How many employees do we actually have in the city?
We have about on the city side of government, we have about 1,548. That's
the number you gave before.
Yeah, that's an estimated number right there.
For
Pretty
the
close.
schools? For the schools?
They have about 5,000 employees.
5,000, okay. Now, how many actual openings do we have right now?
59 openings that have been approved and we are actively recruiting for.
So 15 for the city side,
59 for city, yep.
59. And that includes from what? Just give me a quick flavor of everything.
We have administrative jobs that we're looking for. We have maintenance type jobs, labor positions at our parks and DPW, an assortment.
A lot of seasonal though.
We do have
A lot of
currently, I
seasonal.
would say about 10 to 12 of the positions that I just spoke about are seasonal employment for our summer programs and our golf courses as well.
Okay, so this will be called, and what else?
The head rec leader, the lifeguards.
Which will be here soon enough.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, so we have our 59 opening. Now, Director Mahoney, when we put up posting, and now I realize there's job positions that absolutely need the job requirement. And there are some positions that need the educational requirement plus the background as well. This is a very nice combination, and in perfect world, you have both. Now, Director, if we put our posting, we don't take, there's nobody into the application, nobody applies, we repose that again. Correct. Now we post that again for X amount of time, couple of months. After that, do we repost it again or do we come up with a waiver?
We will keep reposting as long as the department still wants to fill the position, and as long as the PRC is approving us to continue on with it.
The PRC being,
Personnel Review Committee.
so there's absolutely, so there's no timeline as to which we say, okay, we're gonna have now we're gonna have this waiver apply.
So there's no time limit as far as when we start the waiver process. We start the waiver process when we have pretty much been posted for a while and have not found a qualified Springfield resident or a person that's qualified that agrees to move into the city.
Right.
If we don't have that, and that's usually multiple postings, we'll then start the waiver process, and that is a notice to you as city
Right.
councilors that we're reposting again for at least 7 days pursuant to the ordinance.
Right.
And if we get a qualified Springfield resident or a person who says they're going, actually, I think the way the ordinance is worded, it's qualified Springfield resident,
Right.
that's who we go with. And if we don't get the qualified Springfield resident, we're gonna go through the waiver process.
Right. Councilor Walsh, I see you, if you allow me a few minutes before I turn it over to you. So Director Mahoney, so if I understand you correctly, there's no set in stone timeline for a decision for the waiver to be granted.
No, usually the department heads will contact us and say, you know, we've been at it for a while, we'd like to
Right.
engage the waiver process. I'll then go back, or Caitlin or Chloe will go back and we'll look at, hey, we go through everybody just to make sure that
Right.
we don't have anybody either that applied from Springfield and is qualified.
Mhm.
Sometimes we'll see that and then we'll call the department, say, hey, what's going on with, you know, this candidate? They'll say they withdrew. So, okay, or we interviewed them, they said that's just not the job they're interested in. So then we move on to the waiver process.
Okay, now, once you repost a position, say that we put it out once, we take no bites. We put it out second time, no bites. Hell, say that we put it out a third time, still there's no takers. Do we still continue to put in the education? I know it depends on the position, but is there room for us, or actually my same question is, do we keep the educational
Yeah.
requirements?
Yeah.
Is there room for us to say if the position could be without that educational requirement rather than by experience? Can we then say, turn around to say, education preferred, or some sort of language that we can expand this into some of the skill-based
So
people?
we
So
have,
that we can sort of take the second batter off, I guess is what I'm saying. If we-
we have,
Just
20 as I said, 24% of those jobs that have the education requirement above a high school diploma, we have that, or, you know, preferred, or we'll take the
So
experience.
there's language in that already.
It's in the job description already. We don't go and rewrite the job description because we're not getting, you know, the bites that we'd like to get. We're not gonna go rewrite that because some of them are junior positions. We'd end up having to go through that whole process of negotiating a change to the job description with the union.
Okay,
So that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is we're not gonna rewrite the job description for one specific person at one point in time.
okay.
So as an example, if we're hiring an engineer, I'm gonna want that bachelor's degree at
I
least.
sure hope so, sure hope so.
It's a good idea for us.
Yeah,
It's a good
yeah,
idea for
yeah,
us, you know?
exactly.
And we're not gonna say, listen, we're having trouble hiring, and, you know, at times we do.
Uh-huh.
But we're not gonna say, look at if, you know, we're gonna waive that, the high school diploma is good enough for us, and, you know, just don't drive on that road.
Okay. Turn it over to Councilor Walsh. So that the chair is clear, is there any particular thing that gives you pause on this suggestion? On this ordinance suggestion?
Yeah, I think I raised a couple of concerns, particularly on the second page there. I don't think that's a role for the city council, and that'll
Which
turn on, section 1, second paragraph lessons. I don't think
The
that,
job postings one.
Yeah.
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 And that's
Job
something,
classification.
and that's something I'm willing to kind of work around, you know.
Okay. Anything else, Director?
And you said section 4, I think, which is one that we could probably,
yeah.
I think the intent on that one was just more resources. It's not necessarily, but
Okay.
we can rewrite that one or even
Okay.
scratch it out. So those two, those are the two, I mean, those are ones that I
Right.
can
I listen. Before I turn it over to Councilor Walsh, I will say that it seems my time on the council, it seems to me that I haven't heard even some sort of a committee or in the chambers that we are having difficulty hiring people for a number of reasons. And it will seem to me that if we put our minds together, we can be creative to sort of have a cake and eat it too. We gotta do something because we cannot run in, I mean, you guys yourself have said to us, we don't have the staff. So we gotta do something. With that being said, I turn it over to Councilor Walsh.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering, do we have a representative from the law department here?
Yes.
We have the solicitor himself, Councilor Walsh.
Oh, well, can't get any better.
Yes, I am like overwhelmed. So
Steve, do you have a degree?
I paid for one somewhere, I just can't remember.
Doesn't use it much.
I'm just wondering how Councilor Delgado's proposal fits into the law department, and is this something that's doable for the council? Taking out the parts that don't work for Bill Mahoney.
Well, if I can say two things, Counselor. One is this ordinance will not impact the law department much at all because virtually every position that we have requires some type of higher educational component to be certified with the state. That includes paralegals and lawyers. So that's mostly what we hire in the law department. We don't have many other staff members. We do have other positions that in theory don't require a paralegal degree. And what I've been trying to do lately is, getting back to your concerns about keeping the city of Springfield residency requirement, in fact, in place and making it attractive for city residents.
Right.
We're seeing, I'll give you an example. We've posted for paralegal positions. The paralegal positions have come in quite strong. We have over a dozen applicants for a couple positions. And a lot of city Springfield residents. And when we try to post for law degree requirements, we're having a very difficult time filling those positions with city residents right now. So the law department won't be that effective. I did want to add, if I could, just to quickly turn section 5, Counselor. Yes, sir. States other quasi-city governmental entities, including agencies outside the city of Springfield. Independent agencies are encouraged to conform to the terms of this ordinance. I presume the goal there is to try to get after, say, like the Springfield Redevelopment Authority, the Parking Authority.
Yeah, any kind of quasi is connected to us. Yeah, that was the goal.
Okay, I would recommend us to try to come back and wordsmith that a little different. That's the language is a little too broad.
My main focus is here in what we do in the city of Springfield. I think a lot of the other stuff is kind of suggesting to other folks to look into it, to do it as well. But in terms of what we, the city council, can do, it's mainly what we do here in the city of Springfield. That's my main goal.
So it just gets, as you know, it gets a little tricky as we get into like the water and sewer. Those are really off budget.
Correct.
And their own entities. So, okay, we'll have to just come back with a little bit of a different recommendation on that.
That makes sense to me.
Anything else, Solicitor?
No, that's it.
Councilor Walsh, any follow-up, ma'am?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on internships. I believe the last time we had a meeting on this, Councilor Whitfield strongly suggested an internship program. There isn't any language in this proposal that is specifically for interns.
No, not at the moment, but I actually like where you're going because I actually was also one that at that last meeting recommended that we do more from a workforce development standpoint in terms of engaging our school department and our more than 24,000 students that we have. So I'm happy to put something in here, especially since it sounds like we are already doing something with some of the schools, because that is my whole goal is right? Like, I want to see to make sure that Springfield residents are gonna, I want to make sure there's no barriers to folks who actually have relevant experience with some of the jobs. And obviously, you know, workforce development standpoint is continuing to make sure that our students that are graduating from here are getting looked at. So if you guys are already doing that, you know, if you wanted to look at, you know, adding something, Counselor Walsh, I'm happy to.
Yeah, I think we need to hammer out some different language on this. Do we do any special preference for college graduates that have graduated from our colleges?
So we don't have preferences for our colleges, but we have very strong relationships with the area colleges. We get most of our interns from, I would say, Western New England and Springfield College. We work very closely with them.
Oh, that's good. Because obviously that's a pool of people you would like to draw from.
Correct.
Anything else, Councilor Walsh?
I'm all set for now. Do you know, is there a timeline on this?
Councilor Delgado?
Not on my end, I just kind of wanted, you know, to push it forward. Again, this is something that the governor has set out for the state of Massachusetts, so I thought it'd be something that we could look into to do here while we're kind of going through some of our own kind of workforce challenges. So I'm happy to kind of retool some of the language here, maybe add some stuff, you know, to strengthen it, but I still think this is something I still would like to do. And I just want to reiterate for folks that, like, I in no way am trying to eliminate every single bachelor's degree requirement. I do understand that there are certain areas like engineering, like the law department, like some of the specific skills that you can only get from having gone to college and getting a degree. But I also know that there are many other jobs, and industries where folks have been successful that don't necessarily need a degree, right? I've met plenty of people throughout my time who are IT extraordinaires and don't have a bachelor's degree. I've met many people in banking and finance who have been very successful and moved up the ladder, do not have a bachelor's degree. And so I'm just highlighting a few examples. And so what I'm just saying is, you know, for instance, if somebody came from one of our local banking institutions and wanted to come into, you know, the finance department or, you know, what the collector's office, if they don't have a bachelor's degree, they're not getting looked at. Right? And so what I'm saying is eliminate the barrier for some of these roles that you do not need the degree for, and let the best person rise up to the top of the job. And if it's the person that has a degree and experience, then so be it. But I don't want to artificially eliminate folks right off the bat. Because they don't, when you go online and you apply, I don't know how this works, but I'm assuming if you apply for a job and you have relevant experience, but it says bachelor's degree and you apply, you're automatically getting weeded out. Is that correct?
So the way it works is we refer over to applicants that meet the minimum qualifications. And then the department can request, after reviewing everyone who meets the minimum, to see every single applicant. So at that point, then if you didn't meet the minimum, you would be sent over to the department.
But that would only be, you said, at the request of the department
Correct.
head.
And after, yeah, it's after 24 hours, they have to review the original
So if they
candidates
don't
first.
meet the minimum qualifications and the minimum qualification says bachelor's degree, then they're not getting any further along in the process. Okay.
Thank you. Anything else, Councilor?
No, that's it.
Councilor Bruce, I see you, but if you indulge me to allow a quick clarifying question, then I'll give you the floor, Councilor. Following up with what you were just talking, Caitlin, with Councilor Delgado. So if we have an applicant that applies, does not meet the requirement. So we stop the process there. Do we have like a secondary pool in which people can say, other departments can say, a potential fit for that department? He might have not worked for position A, but maybe he could work for position B somewhere else. Do we do such a thing at all, or do we just start over, tell the applicant apply again?
So they have to apply again. So you have to apply for the position. We don't keep a general pool. A lot of that is because we do have, hiring requirements with our unions. So you have to apply, for that specific role.
The long pause is because I'm sure there's something that can be done. I think if we have some sort of a pool that could make everybody happy, it might be a little bit of a uphill work at first, but I'm sure that if this guy applies to position A, I'm sure there should be something within the city, because we know he's willing to work in the city. That we can set him up in such a way to benefit the city and him.
So,
So I don't have an answer yet, but I'm just.
yeah, I'm just thinking from like our application system, it's all tied to positions and requisition numbers. So I can't take an applicant who applied for like, let's say 301 and move them over to like a law department position. And the system just doesn't work like that because it's all
But
tied.
why, just to follow your
Yeah.
example, why can't the law department take a peek at the pool and say, I like X, Y, Z?
Because you can only see the positions that you're a hiring manager of. So if I were to give the law department access to the parks applications, they would see anything that the parks enters into the platform. So that's, increases, positions, things like that, they'd be able to see it.
And just to add, since July 1 of this year, we've had 2,400 people apply for jobs. It's just not gonna work. The department head would be buried in applicants all day and all night and still wouldn't get anywhere.
I'm sorry, Mahoney, I'm gonna ask you to repeat that again. 2,400 people.
2,000, yeah, since July 1, we've had 2,390.
July of last year.
July 1 of last year, 2,393.
I mean, that gives me a little pleasure to hear what you say, Director Mahoney, but it also makes me wonder, I keep hearing nobody wants to work for us, and that seems like a pretty high number of applicants.
Not all Springfield residents, that's for sure.
Would you take a dive as to how many are not residents?
No way to track that in the system.
Yeah, we can't track that.
Unfortunately, we'd have to go through each.
So it seems to me that we have a law that we don't track.
We cannot. The system doesn't have the function to pull the residency
I am the
data.
eternal optimist. I don't like the word no. Yeah, when we put our minds into it, we put our minds into it. I hear what you're saying. and I
So
appreciate
what
it.
we could try to check is based on questions. So we have 2 questions on residency on our applications. We could look at that. So, ask if you are a resident and then ask if you're willing to move. We could look at metrics based on those questions. But that's not, I don't know if it's gonna capture a full picture for you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Two more clarifying questions, and I believe I had the pleasure of seeing both Commissioner Calvi and Superintendent Akers. Are you guys still on the line?
I'm still here.
Oh, Commissioner, good afternoon, my good sir.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon. A quick question for you, my good sir. How many open positions you have in fire right now, sir?
None.
Really?
I've got one repair position open that we've already posted for.
Yeah.
And we'll be hopefully filling that shortly. I have right now 23 people waiting to go to the fire academy. So all my positions are filled, but not necessarily people working in them at this point.
So those 23 people in the academy, are they in the academy yet or will be going to the academy?
May 1st.
Okay, so after May 1st, all your firefighter positions are filled?
Yes.
That's actually good news. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You want to share with us how you pulled that off?
Hard work.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the mentality I like, Commissioner. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Superintendent Akers, are you on the line, sir? No? Okay. I see him there, but Deputy Kane, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Would you be able to speak, how many open current positions in the police department, sir?
I'm not aware of how many positions we have available now, but I know that we have 47 recruits in the police academy and they're slated to graduate May 1st.
Okay. Oh, so one class goes out, one class goes in?
Yeah, we try to put out a class a year. We try to start a class in the late fall and graduate them in the springtime.
Now, in regards, Deputy, with the contingent of officers, how many, I know you say you don't have can't speak to it, but would you like to take a wild guess?
It all depends on what group of officers is approaching their retirement age. With the 40s, I know with the 47 that we have coming on, we're about going to break even in terms of the number of retirements that are expected. But we're very lucky to get a class of 47 through. That's a large class. That's one of the largest classes that we've had in about 20 years. So we get a couple of more classes of that size and we're going to be in pretty good shape.
But in terms of the uniform officers, total sworn officers right now, that's about 430, 450 right now?
About that, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you, Deputy. If by any chance, Deputy, if you can actually get me a hard number, how many open positions are in the SPD and email it to me, I will be most grateful.
You got it.
Okay?
And I will just quickly tell you for PD,
Yeah.
we just did our big recruiting push because the
Yeah.
civil service test was live. And we had over 200 applicants to take the exam that are Springfield residents.
Gotcha. Thank you, Kelly. Councilor Bruce.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate it. First of all, just more of a comment. I want to thank Councilor Delgado and the whole team who brought this to the forefront. I echo some of the same sentiments as far as, you know, needing a degree for certain like positions, call centers, et cetera. Definitely not necessary. So I think we really need to, you know, hone in on giving folks a chance, and making sure like all parties are having an equal opportunity to have an interview process. And again, just giving folks a fair chance. And by all means, I want to echo as well. We appreciate the degrees. People go to school, work hard for those, and pay a lot of money for those. But we do have folks with great experience that didn't have the opportunity to attend schools. Have a couple of close friends of mine that, you know, life circumstances happen where they had, you know, they're a single parent. So there's different circumstances for everybody. But again, I just think, I think that the city council is doing a great job of looking at this and making sure our residents here have an opportunity to at least, you know, get their foot in the door and make us all proud. So again, I just want more of a statement. Thank you, Councilor Delgado, for bringing this to the forefront. It's something that I'm definitely in support of. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Bruce. Very well. Any other thoughts, comments, questions, ideas? No? Councilor Delgado, so would you, what would the next steps be?
I think the next steps for me is to kind of look at some of the language in here, adjust it, you know, talk with Mr. Mahoney and Savannah Connie on adjusting some of the language here. And then once doing that, love to push it forward to the council.
Okay, so I think what we're gonna do then, we're gonna sort of stand by, wait for your checking in with us again, and then we probably can have another meeting. So that we can move it up to the chambers. But we're gonna be working basically on your timeline.
Perfect.
So you wanna move this forward. I do wanna say, like I said before, 2,400 people, that's a lot of people that apply. It seems to me that even if they are not from the city, there's interest to work for the city. And so we need to give people, and I think we are in agreement with that, to give people that live here the opportunity to work here, and to give the people who have the experience that are local to work in their city. This is their city and their government. I think if we put our minds together to this, we can come up with a solution. It will be some work to be done, but I'm hoping that none of us are afraid of work. I know we are all overwhelmed. Some people would say underpaid, but this is what we choose to do. And we do a lot of love and. No, go ahead.
Sorry, I just have one more question. I know when we talk about job descriptions and the requirements, I guess, who comes up with the requirements in terms of what is required? I mean, that's, I guess, subjective, in my opinion, on whomever. So who comes up with that requirements for the different job descriptions?
So we did a study back in 2010 where we did a rewrite of all the job descriptions, surveyed the department heads, took feedback from the employees and the bargaining units as to the essential functions of the job and where we saw the educational requirements fitting in. Those are also a component of how we grade the job from what we pay. And it's, you know, if the job requires a master's degree, we're gonna pay that position higher than high school. So that's all been factored into our requirements as well.
You said that study was in 2010?
It was in 2010, it was the Milliman studies. We did a rewrite of all, I think it was all the bargaining job descriptions. I don't know if we did, no, all the non-bargaining that we did. I don't know if we got all the bargaining. No, we did get the bargaining unit in as well. So we got them all in.
Is there any, I guess, in the future, any, I guess, appetite at some point to kind of look at that? I mean, it's 15 years. The workforce has definitely changed substantially, even in the last 4 or 5 since COVID. So not something I'm saying requiring to, but just knowing that that was done in 2010, I appreciate you guys did that. I think at some point it might behoove us to, you know,
Sure.
to look at that again, since the workforce has definitely changed and will continue to change.
For the non-bargaining positions, anytime we're about to post it, I work with the department to make sure that those are still accurate, as those are positions that we can change without having to go to the union for.
Got it. Okay.
Very well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No problem. So if there's only comments, thoughts, ideas, suggestions, then we will be standing by for Councilor Delgado until he meets with the solicitor and Director Mahoney with the HR department. And we will revisit this at a later time in these chambers before we move it up to the council. With that being said, the time is now 2:23. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
God
you.
bless. Bye.
Thank you.